Okay, so I said before that a function is a block of code that gets repeated multiple times to complete a task. So let's say that I want to get someone's name. So I want to get their first name and their last name. This is just a very easy example just to demonstrate how functions would work. Okay, so let's say that if I was doing this without the use of functions, I would have to first say, let's say I want to get the names of 3 people, okay? So the way you would do that without functions, so I should write here without functions. The way you do that is you'd start off by saying, well, maybe you'd have to do fname1 is input, enter first name, fname2, lname1 is enter last name. You do this, you'd repeat this process. Let's select these lines. You do this process multiple times until eventually you'd get the names of 3 people, and you'd have to fuse them together. So you'd say name1 is fname plus space plus lname. This is just an example, right? So if I just get this one correct, so that's how you would do it normally, right? But this is a repeated task. Look at the amount of lines of code this has, and then we're going to do it with a function, and you're going to see how it reduces so much. Okay, so let's do it with a function now. So we're going to say so the way you first have to define a function. So in Python, the way you do this is you use the keyword def. Okay, def, and then I do the function name. So I'm going to call it getName. Okay, we'll add some brackets here and add a colon. Okay, so this is our function now. So the way we're going to start off by doing is we're going to say our general fname when this function is run. So we're going to say enter first name, then last name, enter last name. So now what will happen is we'll say name is fname plus space plus lname. Okay, and what we're going to do is now I'm going to show you something called returning a value. So in a function, what you can have is a function, you may run a function, but then instead of printing out the value that you get, what it might do is it will just give it back to whatever you run it from. Okay, I'll show you how that actually works. So if I say return name, using the return keyword, can you see it goes pink over here? And what happens is you can't actually write any code once you put a return statement. Okay, so see, I'll press the enter key now. It exits me outside of this function. So what you have to do now is we'll use a little bit, we'll call a main function, just like this. And we're going to say this gets names of 3 people. Okay, so the way we're going to do this is we're going to first do, we're going to make a list of names. Okay, and we'll just go empty list here. And then what we'll do is we'll do for each in range 3, because we want 3 names. We'll use this for loop here. We'll say name equals, and what you can do is you're going to call this function. Okay, so if we say get name, what will happen is the program will run this statement. Okay, so it'll get up to here, it will say, okay, I have a variable here called name, and it needs the value from whatever this function is. So this function, once it's run, it'll go here and it will get your fname, your last name, it'll create this name variable, and what it will do is will return this name variable as I put here. Okay, so if this was called John or something like that, and then here this would also have to be return, this would also have to be John. It's the exact same thing which you have in the function itself. Okay, that's the thing you're returning. Okay, so over here, this does not have to be the same as this. Okay, so think of this. What it's returning is the value inside the variable name is what the return is of this function. So that gets returned and it gets stored in this local variable here called name. Okay, so once it's got the name from this function, what we want it to do is we just want it to add it to our list. So we'll do names.append name. Okay, so now we'll just make it print our names list. I don't really want to format it or anything. This will just get us our 3 names. Okay, so let's run our main function now. The way you call a function, it's the same as running it or calling it. That's what we call it. So we just do the name of the function plus brackets over here. Now brackets, you may be wondering, what are these actually for? These are for storing values called parameters. I'll go into that later on in the video, but parameters are just values that you put into your function, and they can change values inside the function. We'll go into that a little bit later. So I'm just going to really quick remove this stuff that I had here for the first demonstration. I'm just going to get rid of that. So we've now got our function here, getName, which will return a name every time. That name gets stored in this local variable called name, and then this local variable gets appended to our list over here. Okay, so let's run this and let's see what happens. So I'm going to click F5. Then, yep, okay. So let's see. So it's asking us to enter our first name, so we're going to say John Smith. So that's the first name done. Okay, and as you can see, due to our for loop over here, it will run this code again. Okay, so then we'll do Anne Smith, and then the last one we'll do Joe Blogs, Joe, and then we'll have Blogs. Okay, and so what should happen now is, because of our main function, it should just print the list names. There we are. So what we've managed to do is this repeated task of getting the first and last name of a person gets shortened down a lot more, because we've just run the same function multiple times.